Joining us to talk about Uber's latest move towards flying cars is Bryn Clark, the one and only Bryn Clark from The Next Web. How's it going, Bryn?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing awesome. Great to have you here.
It's good to be back. It's been a while.
I know. What the heck is wrong with us?
Well, we usually communicated via iMessage, and I haven't had my iPhone for a month, so that's what I blame.
I have.
That's true.
So it's my fault.
How bad do you hate it? Let's just be honest. Scale of 1 to 10.
How bad do I hate the Android phone? Hate is 2. I dislike it. Strong.
Okay.
Strong.
That's not to say Android phones are bad, but it's a very personal preference that I just can't handle.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't ever have to use my Android phone, Bryn.
I was kind of hoping I'd get to.
No, I'm sorry. It comes back to me tomorrow. Hey, we're here to talk a little bit about Uber and flying cars, although you corrected me a little bit and said not flying cars, they're taxis. But let's back up a little bit. Uber hired a former NASA researcher for its Uber Elevate project. First of all, what do we know about this new hire and what he can bring to the project?
Well, he was a former aircraft engineer at NASA, so he's got legitimate chops in this segment. And he kind of pioneered the idea that aircraft could be smaller, lighter, and fully electric and still carry people around. So rather than having to open your phone, grab the Uber app, and get a car, now you can open the Uber app and get a flying drone of sorts that can take you down the road to get your pumpkin spice latte.
That is so important in this day and age. Okay, so you say drone. Are these cars, they taxis, they planes?
Uber was very quick within seconds to point out that this is not a car.
Okay.
I got an email, like it seems like before I hit the publish button, that said that this was indeed a taxi, and they didn't want me to give anyone the idea that they are building a flying car, like that you could park in your driveway. And it's a taxi. And it's more like a drone, really. I mean, it's not really a car, so I guess that was a bad choice of words on my part. A drone would be far more accurate.
Okay, I think everybody's going with car because everybody wants to live in the Jetsons' future, you know?
I think so, too. I can't look at that and not think flying car.
So do Moore's vision and Uber's vision on flying cars and flying drones, whatever you want to call them, taxi drones, sure. I don't even know what to call them anymore. Do they converge based on what we've heard about Uber Elevate in the past? Is this like a match made in heaven, would you say?
It seems to be. I mean, the two are very closely aligned with their ideas so far. But we're not really going to know until they run through these really significant legislative hurdles that they're going to face. Because it's all really going to come down to how they alter the strategy and what they come up with next. And I guess you never really know how well you work together based on the initial idea. It's going to be based on many revisions and what they come up with.
Sure.
So what stands between me and my flying taxi?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of physics that we can talk about. Well, for starters, they have to plow through just a ton of, 3-letter agencies in the government, like the FAA, FCC, DOT. And then once they're done with that, if that ever actually happens, then they're going to have to go and start answering questions to members of Congress, most likely, about the safety implications of this and how they can ensure the public that this is fine and you can actually get into a flying taxi and not fall to your death. And then from there, you're probably going to see a small test area in a less dense city, maybe in Idaho. That was for you, Jason.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Happy that you know this.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a technology that we're close to seeing. We're, in my estimation, a decade out at least.
Wow, a decade out. Now, it's my understanding that Moore, he had, at least according to the one of the other articles that I read, the Bloomberg article had mentioned that he was a year out of being eligible for retirement from NASA, and also many of his pension benefits apparently walking away from that because he believes that Uber is the right company and now is the right time. But you're saying 10 years. I mean, that's quite a thing to walk away from. Does this kind of give you hope that Uber is doing it right? They've got the right person for the job, obviously.
It gives me hope that Uber gave him a sweet enough deal to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And let me clarify just for a second. When I say it's a decade out, the technology to do this is already there. Like this isn't a technology problem. This is very much a legislative problem.
Right.
And as we've seen with self-driving cars, that's not a quick process, and it's not something we can just speed through. And it could actually lead to a company like this testing overseas for the first time. Like we're losing Hyperloop due to this legislative battle. Autonomous cars, we're seeing self-driving semi-trucks go to Europe. I mean, this really could be kind of the next big tech battle we lose to the legislative process. But to the question, I think it shows a lot that he's willing to join the company and risk that much to build something like this. So it seems very much like his heart's in it and he believes this is something that could succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought up physics. I have some more questions about this. So what?
I don't know anything about physics.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. I'm so glad we have you here.
Okay.
What about VTOL? That's vertical takeoff and landing. That's what we're talking about, the technology here, as opposed to having to speed up and take off. And is that why you would liken it to a drone, or is it actually is it pilotless?
Well, I'm not sure on which route that Uber's going to have to go on this one. We've seen, not just from Uber, but from other companies like Airbus, Explorer Air, Volcopter, EHang at CES. I don't know if you got to see that drone.
Mm-hmm. The one that's going to carry organs around?
Yeah, or something, yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of different concepts, and they're not anywhere near actually picking one, in my opinion. But if you look at them, they're much closer to drones. I mean, they use GPS. They can fly completely autonomously. They don't necessarily need a pilot. Someone closer to maybe like an air traffic controller would be what we'd be looking at. But yeah, it's much closer to a drone. I mean, we really don't know. It could look like a wood-paneled station wagon with wheels that flies, for all we know. But it comes down to it.
As long as like the wheels go from normal to, they rotate. That's what
That was the mental picture I had. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Good. I'm happy
more,
we're on the same page.
I'm thinking more like the Magic School Bus kind of flying,
With flames shooting out the back. Mm-hmm. Just don't be standing back there.
Right.
Any of the kids that are about to board the school bus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might happen too. Are there any other companies out there that are quite as making this type of aggressive step towards developing this type of fleet as Uber?
Airbus actually said they could have one out by the end of this year,
right.
which might be ambitious. Mm-hmm. But again, like Explorer Air, Volcopter, EHang, I mean, there are a lot of companies that say they're doing something like this, but I think few are anywhere further than drawing it out on a cocktail napkin like we all do.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's like a land grab at this point, just making sure that everybody knows that we're working on something and we'll be there when this becomes a thing 5-10 years down the line.
Yep.
And we have the NASA guy. So there you go.
They do have the NASA guy, so there's that.
There is that. That's a big get. Bryn Clark from thenextweb.com. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. And not on a Friday this time. That was amazing.
We play around with things here. We're like, you know what? Yeah. It's Monday, but okay, this time.
Always be testing.
All right. Well, thanks, Bryn.
All right, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.